So you just got that nice new hammock. Now you're looking for some tips on how to get the best hang. Or maybe you already have the hammock, you've had it out a couple times and you've been having some trouble. In this video, I'm going to give you some of my best tips for hanging your hammock and also some pitfalls to look out for and some things to avoid. The first thing that you're going to need to take into consideration when you're looking for a spot to hang your hammock is obviously going to be the trees. Here behind me I have a couple trees that I think are a good distance apart that should work pretty well for us to hang a hammock. One of the best ways that I have found that I use when I'm trying to find trees that should be a good distance apart is if you have your trekking poles, if you're out backpacking, take your trekking poles, reach them out at a arm's length between the trees that you want to use, and if your trekking poles can fit between the trees and there's still some distance on each side of the trees, then that should be a good starting point. These ones are probably a little bit close together, but I think they should work. I'd maybe try to look for maybe a foot of distance apart on each side from your trekking poles. That's obviously gonna depend on how long you have your trekking poles set, but that's just a good starting point. The next step is to get out your tree straps. Here I just have two basic tree straps. These are basic polyester tree straps, 12 foot. I find that 12 foot works perfectly for me for all applications. I probably wouldn't go any shorter. You go a little longer if you wanted to, but I really haven't found any need. 12 foot I think is the sweet spot. And these are tree straps. So on each end, they're going to have one end with a loop here in the side, and I have some Dutch clips attached on here, which just helps with setup. But if you don't have these, that's okay. That's not a problem. Most people will start off with carabiners. And then on the other side here, it's just a basic strap. So if you don't have one of these Dutch clips or even a carabiner, all you'll have to do then is take the strap, run it around the tree here, and take this other end, pass it through the loop in here, pull it tight, and you can do it that way. Just runs right through this loop, and then this end's just gonna hang down to your hammock. So if you don't have any hardware, carabiners or Dutch clips or anything like that, this is how you'll run your straps around the tree. Now when I'm first running my straps around the tree, I'll usually go about a height like this, probably like a little bit higher than head height. Take my one strap, put it around. I'm just gonna be using these Dutch clips here, which all these Dutch clips do is make it easier. If I were to need to go up over a branch or anything, I can quickly and easily disconnect this. So I'll put that in there, run my one strap around this tree, take my other strap, run it around the other tree here, same thing. Just clip it on with my Dutch clip, like that. And this is just, we're just looking for a baseline. We just want to get our straps around the tree and get us a good starting point. Once you got your straps around the trees, go ahead and grab your hammock. Just have my hammock in the stuff sacks here. I just take it out. Set that to the side. And I can see here that this is going to be my head end. I'll put my head end over to this side. Usually I'll just drape the rest of the hammock over my shoulder when I do this so it's not laying on the ground, possibly getting any kind of damage. So on here I have It's going to be probably, your most basic suspension system that most people are going to have when they're first starting out. This is just a cinch buckle. So it's just a cinch buckle hooked onto the continual loops here. Come over here to my side that I want to be my head end. Take the strap. Make sure the strap's pretty straight here. Put it underneath the cinch buckle here. Close this down. And then just pass it back through the other side there. And you can pull out some of this slack. And now that's going to hold tight. And I just walk it out to the other side. Grab my other strap, and it's going to be the same thing. This little toggle piece here just moves up and down here. Just put that to the top. Run your strap right here through the bottom, and then run it back over top of the toggle. Just like that. And when you pull it, that's going to pull it tight. Pull out some of that slack. And always check before you sit in or lay in your hammock. Check to make sure that your toggle on your cinch buckle is nice and in line here. Make sure that this toggle's not crooked, because that can cause this to break, cause damage. Make sure that it's seated in there correctly. All right, now we have our hammock basically strung up between these two trees. Normally I like to hang the hammock maybe waist high, somewhere in that area. You don't want to hang it too high or too low. One of the most common mistakes that I see people doing when I see photos, videos people post is I'll see them have their hammocks hung like this, like just pulled super tight. It might be a little lower than this obviously, but just pulled way too tight. And that's not what we're looking for at all. I even think people sometimes, have to jump up into their hammocks when they hang them like this. This is definitely not the way you want to do this. Definitely avoid this. This is one of the most common mistakes that I see. So once you have your hammock hung up here, basically, you can go ahead and sit in it. Take your shoes off. Go ahead and lay in it. Get your head over to the side that you're going to be sleeping in, and get your feet out to the side here. And I can already feel, just as I'm laying in here, that this hammock is too tight. We need some more slack in it. If your hammock has a structural ridge line up here, go ahead and take your fingers and try to bend it. And this is not bending very well at all for me. It means that my hang is pretty tight. I need to loosen out some slack in my straps. So I can feel it here in the hammock that it's kind of tight around me. It's very tight all around. So I'm going to let out some slack. With your straps, a general rule of thumb is 30-degree angle coming down. That's just a general rule of thumb. If you put your fingers out like this, the angle between your thumb and your forefinger is going to be approximately a 30-degree angle. So, that's not somewhat close. These are actually, there you go, see that? That's about 30. Gonna sit back in the hammock here. Get back in here. I usually put my head somewhere right around where this pull out is on this side. One of the other big mistakes that I see people newer to hammocks doing is they get in the hammock and they try to lay straight down the middle. And if you can see this, I'm pretty much like a banana. My head's up here, sloping down and to my feet. This is super uncomfortable. I would never want to sleep like this. Have all this tight fabric where my legs are at, and I could see why, if someone tried to sleep in a hammock like this, they would never want to probably sleep in a hammock again. So all you need to do to achieve a good lay in a hammock is take your upper body, your shoulders, shift it over here to the side. So I put my shoulder usually somewhere right around where this pull out is on this side. Take your legs and just this extra fabric here, just turn your body diagonally and push out that fabric, and you'll shift right into the sweet spot of the hammock. This is how you achieve your flat lay in the hammock. This is very comfortable right now. My head's diagonally over here. Sorry, my head is at the one end and I'm laying diagonally out towards the other end of the hammock. And this is the sweet spot. I'm laying very flat. I could obviously sleep in this for 10 hours easily. This is what you're looking for in the hammock. Now if I check my ridge line, see how I can pull slack in this? And if I take my fingers now and turn that, I can get a 90-degree angle in my structural ridge line. And that's about what you're looking for. I could honestly even pull this a little bit tighter and be good. But this is what you're looking for. You want to have that slack in your structural ridge line, and that's going to let you know that you have a good amount of slack in your hang, and you're going to be achieving a good hang. Another thing to consider that you may want to try is hanging your foot end maybe about 6 inches to a foot higher than your head end, and that can sometimes help you achieve a flatter lay. Me personally, after some time, I found that that's really not necessary. I usually just try to get a nice, pretty even hang on both sides. One important thing to remember with your tree straps is when it comes around the tree, you want it to come straight out the end here and down. And this is going to keep a lot of the pressure off of your tree strap up here. One common error that I see people do is they'll have their tree strap pulled all the way over to the side. They'll have it pulled all over here to the other side, and this tree strap is coming completely doubled back on itself. That's putting a lot of pressure on your tree straps right here. You want to avoid this. So it's coming around through the Dutch clip and coming back on a sharp angle back on itself. When you put a lot of pressure on that, that's going to put a lot of pressure on your tree straps here. So in order to avoid that, just bring everything back over to the side here. Now, when this tree strap's coming out, it's just running straight out and straight down to your oar. suspension here. If you sit in or lay in your hammock and test your ridgeline and find that it's way too saggy, you got way too much slack in your hammock, at this point, all you'll need to do is take out some of the slack in your cinch buckles. So you want to tighten them up on both ends. And depending on how much slack you need to take out, you may have to lower your tree straps down also. If on the other hand, when you sit down in your hammock, your ridgeline is guitar string tight, there's no sagginess whatsoever, this is way too tight, all you have to do at that point is let out some slack. And depending on how much slack you need to let out, you might have to raise your tree straps up in order to be able to let some more slack out. Another little tip is if you just want to sit in your hammock, sometimes this end can put a lot of pressure on your legs. If you just take the fabric of the hammock and double it back over itself like this, now you can sit in it, and there's no pressure here on my legs. It makes a really good seat now. Another thing that might help you achieve that flat lay and can also get some of the excess bug knitting up off from around your face is you can use some tie outs. So all I have here is a piece of shot cord with a loop in the one end. I'll just take the shot cord, pass it back through itself, form a little loop here, and then I'll just run this out to my tarp stakes. So one down here at the head end, I'll just put that around the stake that I have out for my tarp. Then I just have a little cord lock on here with the cord ran through so I can adjust this. And I'll just take this to my tie out by my head end, pull this out as tight or as loose as I want it. Do the same thing here at my foot end on the opposite side. Just take the shot cord, put it around my stake here, take the other end. Got my little cord lock on here that I can adjust this where I have the tie out at the foot end. We'll just hook that in there. Now I can adjust this. If I don't want it very tight, I can put it up like that. If I want this more pulled out, this is going to pull this bug netting. See, when I pull it tight, that's going to pull this more off me on both sides. I can do that. So I can pull that out. And now if you can see, I have this at the foot end and I have it pulled out over at the head end. So now you can see I have this hammock pulled out at my head end and my foot end. I have the bug netting closed. As you can see, the tie outs are really helping me in two ways. They're helping me get the hammock pulled out in the way that I'm going to be laying, and can help you get a little bit more of a flatter lay, more easy, and help pull out some of the bottom fabric. And it's also, as you can see, I have the bug netting closed here, and you can see that that's pulling this bug netting up off from around my face. So it's giving me some room from the bug netting. So this hammock, the way I have it hung right here now, would be perfect. This is what you want to shoot for. One other thing that the tie outs help me with is when I have the underquilt on here, which we're not going to talk about underquilts in this video, but it will. I pull my underquilt right up to here, and that's going to help keep my underquilt in the right positioning. It's going to help stop it from riding up too far, because I only want it up to right here, and this is going to prevent the underquilt from coming up too far. But we'll save that for another video. So guys, I hope this video was helpful and informative. I hope you're able to get some information that can help you in your hammocking journey. Hanging a hammock, it's really not super complicated, but there are some things, some key points that you need to know, some things to look out for. When you're first starting out, it is going to be, sometimes it might be a little stressful for you, especially, you know, I remember back when I started, after a hike, like, you know, a long day, possibly the sun's starting to get low in the sky, I might only have a limited time, and you know, you need to get all this set up, plus you need to get your tarp up, and we'll talk about that in another video. So I know that it can be stressful. You just have to get out there and do it. The more that you do it, the easier this is all going to become. You just have to get practice at it, you know, maybe come to a place like this, practice setting up your hammock a couple times before you go out. Yeah, just practice with it, and in no time you'll have it down. You know, it's second nature to me now. I can do this without any major problems, but there are always going to be things that come up, and you'll just have to be able to deal with them while you're out there. But now that I have this awesome setup here, I think I'm going to kick off my shoes and I think I'm going to take a little nap here. So I'll catch you guys in the next one.